Bill, it's been a while, but we got you on Real Vision eventually. How are you?
I'm great. Thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
So listen, you've been in this space for a long time and you're new to many people, but not to others. But let's go back and just go through a bit of your journey, how the hell you got here. When did you start your career?
This kind of circular path of, I worked in cryptography when crypto meant cryptography, not cryptocurrencies. I worked on Wall Street. I was at Goldman. Kind of went through a phase of like learning all about financial markets, fixed income, built trading systems, designs, portfolio management systems. But then I got the internet bug and ended up joining Netscape pretty early around the time of the IPO. And that's more or less been my 20-year journey now, is just really focused on the internet eating the world kind of mantra that I've always had in my mind. And the things that have always resonated for me is how the internet can basically act as a great leveler and democratize access to anything, whether it's entertainment and media or now financial services, which has been, my big passion for the last 10 years.
What is the most exciting thing that you're seeing in the space? There's a lot going on. There's NFTs going on, there's DeFi, there's all sorts of stuff going on. What is the thing that makes you go, God, that's really exciting?
Yeah, I think this topic of, I have a personal treasury in Bitcoin that I'm eventually going to borrow against while we're in this transition, is a new narrative that I'm hearing every day, every single day. Combine that with stable coins built on the Ethereum network, and you basically have the future monetary system, at least for the next 10 years. And then we'll see what happens to the dollar. Like I said, if there's no dollar, then you're not borrowing any. So that is the most exciting narrative, because that's the basis for Bitcoin, Ethereum as the future of banking, in my opinion. Bitcoin as the reserve asset, Ethereum as the application layer that makes all of this move around, including the institutional aspects of DeFi, but also the retail-facing pieces that companies like Abra offer. That's the part that's most exciting, or the story that's most exciting to me right now, is that so many people are starting to intuitively get this, that they should be managing their personal treasury eventually in Bitcoin, or at least part of it now, and then eventually borrowing against it.
Because the old way is you make a bit of cash, you stick it in the bank, you look for a term deposit, you earn a bit of interest, and that's your reserve, right? So that's
it turns into an annuity for yourself.
Yeah, and you might have been slightly apocalyptical, so you might have had some gold as well. So that was our previous reserve asset. Right. And now people are looking at Bitcoin. But my only thought about that, okay, I can see that, not easy to do with a 70 vol asset that falls 80% every 4 years. That's my only struggle. Is we all talk about a reserve asset right now,
right?
But once your new house has disappeared out the window and you're now only looking at buying a new car, you're like, shit, I need to sell some of this stuff. That's my only issue.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's why it hasn't happened yet. But the question is, once Bitcoin gets to 10 trillion, and think about how much in Bitcoin value, how much is moving off of exchanges, so that it's, in dollar terms, there's still more on exchanges than there was a couple of years ago. But in Bitcoin terms, it's way less. And so as that continues to happen, I think those 80% drawdowns have to stop, because it's no longer a kind of real-time tradable asset in the traditional sense, at least not in the first generation sense. It truly is at that point a store of value, and that transition has then happened. We're in the middle of the transition. You can't have a transition to anything like this without volatility. It's like saying, how do I get my car from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour? Well, you have to get to 10, you have to get to 20, you have to get to 40. It's physically impossible to get to 100 without those steps in between. Well, that's what's happening with the price of Bitcoin right now. And so, but once you're at 100, you can stay 100, right? You can choose to decelerate or not, but this is the price we have to pay. And for us as the people on the front lines, right, we should be getting the benefit of that. That's what we think anyway. And so I don't think that the people who use it 10 years from now are going to look at it that way, because it's not going to be going up and down in price the way it is now.
Yeah, and also there's a number of things with that. Is as you go up the quality spectrum, volatility falls. So fixed income's got the lowest vol of all, then FX, then equities, so we kind of know as it goes, it loses volatility over time. Also, I don't know how much of the volatility of Bitcoin is actually the volatility of fiat money overall, because that's another part of this equation, is what is the volatility of M2 right now? These are things we've never really had to deal with before.
Right.
And I think, I've been looking at some charts, spending time thinking about okay, what does the S&P look like in Fed balance sheet terms? And bizarrely enough, there's been no bull market really. It's just kind of traded sideways since 2008. And that's like, huh.
Yeah.
And when you look at gold versus equities, they've kind of been in the same range.
Yeah. They're both just a store of value.
Yes. And so therefore, I then looked at gold versus a basket of 27 global currencies, excluding the dollar, to give me an idea of what is fiat currency doing versus gold, because gold is like the trusted understanding of value. Yeah. Fascinating is those currencies have underperformed gold since global financial crisis by 60%.
Wow.
What it's kind of suggesting to me is there is a currency devaluation of fiat, not of individual currencies against each other, not dollars against euros, but of all fiat, because of we've just seen the Reserve Bank of Australia today implementing yield curve control. That's basically unlimited printing of money if anybody sells them a bond. So when I look at that and I think, wow, has all fiat currency fallen 60%? And this is the bit that we're missing when we look at volatility of Bitcoin. Are we measuring the wrong thing even?
We are.
Get my head around this.
Right. Intuitively, everybody, even non-economists, kind of get the idea that there's a global debasement going on because, you know, my favorite analogy. You can't see it
because it's not in CPI, which is what everyone's claimed, right?
Exactly. But I go to my mother, who, I'm from New York, and, you know, she's a Yankees fan. She's got a Mickey Mantle card somewhere. I said, hey, how much is that card worth? She knows exactly what it's worth. I said, why? Well, nobody's got one. Everybody wants one. I said, great. Here's 10,000 more. What happens to the value? She's like, oh, I don't want that, right? I don't want that. Well, no, we can't have that. But you say the same thing about money, and people are like, yeah, you're right. Why do we do that? That's dumb.
Because you can't see it. It's hidden.
Exactly. So but that's the big lie, is that the global debasement is death by 1,000 cuts, and it has been true for 100 years. And so it's just that now we're in an end game of a cycle, and the last time we were in the end game, it didn't end very well. You know, and so I don't know how this ends, but I hope it's not war. And if it has to be a move to another, you know, either the world comes together and agrees that everybody gets to write down their debt. I don't see how that happens, but I just don't. I don't know how we get out of this, but I know that the last time it happened, it didn't end well. And when I don't know how something is going to end, it really bothers me. You know. Yeah,
I think in the end. Neil Howe William Strauss's Fourth Turning is like the framework for all of us. We don't know the answers, but we know the change is happening and it's real. I mean, this is not noise. The internet is disrupting money and all value. This is, so, you know, somebody put it to me that finance now has a basically unlimited TAM. So the total addressable market is every person on earth. If you're going to disrupt the financial system. That wasn't necessarily the case with Facebook and others.
That's right.
This is big. And, you know, let's see how it plays out. Bill, listen, fantastic. Really enjoyed that. Lots to dig into and
super interesting
ideas.